Can you complete this sentence? My biggest life lesson is.
Probably don't take yourself so seriously. And I think I've learned that more recently than not. I mean, don't take yourself so seriously. It's not all serious. Have some fun. So,
Yeah, agreed. And I
yeah.
think that's a common thing, right? That we also think we have to be serious. We have to show up as this. We can't play around. We can't joke. We can't make
Yeah.
fun of ourselves. We can't, all of those things that play in. And I would agree that that's something that I've learned along the way as well. But I would
You,
agree. Don't take
even you, even you, Maria,
this.
used to take
Yeah.
yourself too seriously. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we do. We take ourselves seriously so other people take us seriously. But if we're human, we can be a lot more
Yeah.
productive.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Finding the Upside. Today, I'm continuing my conversation with Julie McManus. Here is part 2 of One Tough Chick. I'd like to segue into related battery of questions here, talking about, specific barriers faced by women in terms of, you mentioned it in what you were talking about in terms of gaining respect as a woman, and the difference in behaviors of a man, same behaviors of a woman, kind of looked at differently. So you already said that you modeled some of the bad behaviors, right, by men,
Yeah,
that like you thought that's what you were supposed to do to be the boss. Okay,
correct.
learned that wasn't necessarily the case, but many women experience difficulty in gaining respect in workplaces, also in business, and, for their expertise, their knowledge, their strength, their assertiveness, being that seen as a strength rather than a weakness,
Hmm.
decisiveness. And it's super unfortunate, but it is a reality in our society that women have to work harder to gain the respect of others. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yes.
So, how is that true for you? And talk to me a little bit about that, about how you did that and how we can start to change that. So, did you have to work harder to gain respect as a
I,
woman than a
y-
man?
yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I all of my career has been spent in male dominated industries, whether consulting or in warehousing and distribution. It's always been, I'm up against a man in a position in terms
Okay.
of getting new positions. And I know that we worked harder because for one, I mean, there's limited positions available, so there's more men in general available. If there's one position available, there's 3 men and myself,
Hmm.
right? So there was that competition. But I do believe in terms of the bar is set so high because of the exact same behaviors, I think, are rewarded differently,
Mm. How
right?
so? Yeah.
Because the man does the thing and it's okay, and that's what men are supposed to do, but the woman does the thing, and she's emotional, she's on her period, it's just we're even though we're exhibiting the exact same behaviors because of our sex,
Hmm.
we're it's taken differently or
Yeah.
accepted differently.
Yeah.
And so I think I the same way you did at some point made this pivot to say, hey, I'm just I can't continue to push people that don't want to be pushed. And there's so many smart people, particularly younger people, smarter than I am. So figure out what drives them. So it was letting those kind of ineffective behaviors go
Hmm.
and really figuring out what I needed to do differently to take me out of the equation and
Hmm.
lift the people up. And I think that's where the shift was for me.
Yeah. So for sure, I mean, I could relate to that as well. But let's just say, not as a leader with your people, but
Okay.
as a peer. What was your experience in terms of gaining the same respect as a woman from a man? In other words, in a boardroom with male dominated, a man says something strong or, you know, passionate, and
Yeah.
it's looked at as strength. How did you gain respect for your ideas? How did you gain respect for your, decisiveness or assertiveness? What was that like for you with your peers?
So peer wise, I've always been, so I don't know if it was respect. I'm always very passionate.
Mhm.
And it's almost like I would be sitting, I could be sitting there impatiently. Well, she's sitting there impatiently. She's not saying anything. Let's give her the table or something like that. So
Mhm.
my passion would like show through, my energy would show through. And it's almost like we have to let her say something because she's going to say it one way or the other and give her the floor, which is not necessarily the greatest way to go about things. But people did know that when I spoke, if I was patient enough to wait to get handed the microphone or whatever,
Mhm.
that what I would say is value added.
Yeah.
So it was really, I think, having to, for peers in the boardroom, which has happened regularly, is to wait my turn and make sure that I'm listening to other folks first, and knowing that what I have has value, so just waiting to be able to add that value,
Yeah,
if
I
that
mean, I
makes sense.
think you pointed on an important, you know, point there, right? Knowing what you have has value, but I also feel like, it is a reality that we have to face, that how do you have that same seat at the table, and how do we as a culture or society, make sure that all feel welcome and can have a voice, right?
I can, whoever's listening to this may disagree with me, but a lot of times I never felt equal to them. I knew that I was in education, in qualifications, and in what my people would do and the contribution to the organization. So I had to be patient and make sure that I was heard. And I made that happen because I think I don't know that. Yeah, I had to make that happen.
I mean, listen, I don't, your experience is your experience, right? And that's how you did it. And I don't disagree that that's a smart way to make sure that you are heard. But I think, the larger overarching thing that we want to hopefully impact is changing that. That has to be the norm, right? It's like,
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, listen, let me say this. Like, I obviously have been labeled aggressive. I don't think of myself as aggressive. I think that's myself as very assertive. And I think there's a
Correct.
difference, right? I've been labeled bossy. I don't consider myself bossy. I've actually was given that label as a child, and worked for years to reframe that. I'm decisive. I take
Yes.
the lead, you know?
Yes.
And that's a whole thing with young girls. Let's ban bossy. I think it was the Girl Scouts that talked about that. Bossy
Yeah.
is not a word. Don't accept that label. So we do have to find ways to be smart and intelligent to navigate the game the way it is.
Correct. Yeah.
But the long game is to change that. So I have seen, for example, I have seen women, I've done it myself, that instead of being extremely passionate and emotional, be super calm and chill,
Uh huh.
and be able to get their point across, which was so powerful to do, as
Yeah.
something that didn't come naturally to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I applaud that, but we shouldn't have to do that to be heard in the long game,
Correct.
you know?
I absolutely agree. If you're in with your peers and the intention is a peer meeting, then everyone should have an equal seat at the table.
Yeah.
And I think either all too often, when we speak, it's either, oh, you're, oh, okay, okay, honey, we
Mhm.
get it,
Mm.
or you just have to bite your tongue until you're given, till you're given, the opportunity to use your voice.
Yeah, 100%.
And it does need to change, because it's very difficult to navigate. You don't know which side, which voice to use, or how to use your voice sometimes in those meetings, because it's not an equal peer meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's on companies and their culture to work on that, to create a place where every voice can be heard and every voice is valued and
Correct.
every person is seen. And although that most people, when they hear that, go, yes, to actually make it work, there's a lot of things that have to be broken down and not
Absolutely.
supported that are currently supported,
Right.
And I also think that, in business, this is an interesting conversation I just had with someone. In business, is what we want a place where only the loudest people are heard. That's certainly modeled in a lot of places, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And is what we want as business owners or CEOs or executive team. We only want yes men or women, because that's also modeled in lots of places. That's not what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have new ideas. We want to have, I don't think this is a good idea, and this is why. We
Right.
want to have those respectful dissenting voices. And my fear is that we're headed towards this place where it's just about everybody nodding their head going, this is an awful idea, but everybody's
Yeah.
nodding their head because the man in the room, is saying that this is what we should be doing. And it could be the woman in the room too, but I mean, we're talking about the
Yeah.
difference treatment, but
Yeah.
that's striking, that is a lot more difficult than talking about it, right?
Yeah. But you stifle the creativity, you stifle the people going the extra mile, people do things begrudgingly. All of that you just shut that down.
Yep.
You shut all of that creativity and empowerment down, and it doesn't serve the organizations well.
Nope. Nope. You actually have a really stifled, dysfunctional organization, which is really common these days.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, has anyone ever second guessed your work because you're a woman?
Because I'm a woman, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Maybe.
Huh?
No, but I don't think so. No, I do good work. And it's never, if I maybe screwed up some numbers or something, but I screwed up the numbers. I own that.
Yeah,
I never felt like, oh, yeah, no. Mm-mm.
that's great. I
Yeah.
mean, so let me ask this. We were talking earlier about self-worth and understanding your value. And I think, when we talk about barriers, right? Barriers to grow and maintain your success and really chart your path. It is very common, let's just say this, for people to doubt their own worth. And you and I talked about our experience with losing our jobs. There's lots of things that can do it. Sometimes it's just also being shut down in a meeting. That can be
Hmm.
a trigger, just like if that's repetitive behavior, just all of these things. So, what was your experience like navigating self-worth or doubting your value? What was that like? And how did you change your mindset? And what are the things you do currently to keep yourself in that place, that centered place?
Oh, I still doubt my self-worth. I
Okay.
still doubt it. Yeah.
So do I.
That's like the gazillion dollar, trillion dollar business, right? And I just was on a call with a peer who's in Vietnam doing a speech right now, and she's like, why did they pick me, and blah blah blah. I it's been a constant battle. It's been a constant battle for a number of reasons, and I think the biggest thing is really, I think it's surrounding yourself with people that, if you need to, you can borrow a little bit from when you need to borrow it. It's people, it's your own, I think Yeah, aligning yourself with good people will help a lot. Aligning yourself with people that have similar types of values will help a lot.
Specifically at work or just in your life?
Just in your life, I
Mhm.
think. At work, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something. It's a constant battle, and I don't know. Maybe you have it figured out, but I think it's a constant battle that I know that I'm working on. But I started kind of journaling the
Mhm.
wins and the successes.
Mhm.
And I think that's something I never did. I never had time. I never, we don't say, oh, yeah, Julie, you take the time you need to, work on your self worth. It's always go, 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 deliver for the company, and never taking the time to take care of yourself and recognize, you have to be okay in order for your people to be okay. And I think that's been a real shift for me, is surrounding myself with people, taking time for myself. But I still think it's something that I struggle with quite a bit. I wish
Well,
I had. I wish I had the silver bullet to tell some young women, you know.
I mean, no, thank you for sharing that. I mean, you said maybe I have it figured out. I still battle that as well. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of why this conversation and you sharing that and being vulnerable about that is important, because somebody might look at you and go, "Really?" Somebody might look at me and go, "Really?" Yes, it's very normal, right?
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
very normal human reaction. And let's also say this: there are lots of things in the cultures that exist in our society that we're in this matrix, and all the things we've pointed out already about, just that make you doubt yourself as a woman, that the this place that you operate in, and also just as
Mhm.
a person, because let's be real, there are men that have these issues as well. But
Yeah.
I think one of the critical things you said, and I am no different than you, we don't operate in a place where we say, go invest in yourself, make sure you feel you take care of yourself, you do those things, those practices, whatever it is that works for you,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
help you combat that. Why is that important to business or to leading a team? Because
Yeah.
if you are not self-aware as a person, it doesn't matter what role you're playing or what
Mhm.
role you serve at, you are not, if you're not investing in yourself, if you're not giving yourself the time and the practice, whatever it is, meditation, journaling, other personal development, affirmation, whatever it is, if you're not doing that, it's difficult to combat those moments, number one. And number two, the investment in the time that you do that for yourself goes out all over everywhere,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that for me was a big, and still today, I mean, I'm in a much different place. But when I
Mhm.
left, I mean, forget it in the corporate world. Forget it.
Yeah.
That was my experience. I mean, I left that 17 years ago. But so I think that still exists. It's when I go into companies and train them, nobody's like journaling, nobody's, normalizing, let's do meditation in the morning, or you go ahead and take
Mhm.
your time. Like, not really. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's because of this culture of work that we have, where it's productivity, 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 productivity. And it's so flawed because it even comes into play in, do companies or do leaders or people leading teams or even executives, they don't even take time to push back from the table out of tactical mode and get strategic. You've
Right.
got to do that, right? It's like,
Yes.
but it's like the workday doesn't allow you the time, or the culture doesn't kind of bless you to be able to do that. And what I've realized is, in the 17 years of owning my own business, it's only really in the last 3 where I take time to do that in my
Yes.
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was
Yeah.
always before so programmed with, no, 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 that's not productive time. That's not checking something off on a project. But it is so crucial to your ability to operate at a high, you know, um, level, where you're
Absolutely.
not dealing with that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ego is strong, and
Mhm.
especially with all of the things we have in our culture and society, that is doing that, that is triggering that. we
Mm-hmm.
have to find that way to build that for ourselves. And I think everyone benefits when we do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You just, if you yourself are, I've always been so hard on myself, and then I'm hard on the people,
Right.
and they don't know. And I said it in my talk. Yeah, which leader am I gonna? Who's gonna show up today?
Yeah.
And if you're grounded and you're well and you're fair and you're even and you're balanced, you're so much more of an effective leader.
100%.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
100%. And we mentioned that, right? That requires you to be self-aware, not just as a leader. Anybody being self-aware, it's improving relationships all the way around, right? Like
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
critical thing. But in order to be self-aware, you have to take the time to do that. So that
Yeah.
means dealing with those things, having those practices, whatever it is for you. And as a leader, you got to do that. You're working with
Yeah.
human
Yeah.
beings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've got to be able to hold the mirror up to yourself every single day and be a better person, which makes you a better leader.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
said to a leader the other day, if it wasn't for my employees, my job would be so much easier, and they're constantly screwing up. And I'm like, what is your contribution? I didn't do anything. Yeah,
Mm,
you did. You did. What was your contribution to it? Let's break it down. There's something that you've done, something that you've said, something you didn't do that contributed to the end result.
yes.
We're always it's I mean, it's a huge responsibility, but as leaders, if something fails on the back end, we have contributed to that somehow. And I think that's a hard pill for a lot of leaders to swallow. It's my employees, it's this, it's that. It's you.
Well, again, that has to be part of, leadership development, right?
Right.
And then, again, as we've said, that's the big thing in my area where it's like, you don't have a leadership development program. So all these people are leading others with no experience. That's like flying a
Yeah.
plane and never taking a flying lesson. You know what I mean? I
Right.
mean, that's,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you said it in the talk that you gave Friday night. We both appeared at an event and did a talk on similar leadership values we pointed out and principles, but you're caring for people. You have the responsibility to direct that person's life, right? You have an impact on their life for better or worse.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a huge gift, but it's a huge responsibility and you have to
It
take
is.
that seriously. And
Yeah.
you know what? I think also it's important to say, like you said, something you didn't do, something you did or whatever, like we have to cut that out. Like, in any relationship, there's accountability on both sides. Both
Yeah. Yeah.
people have to be accountable. So in a leadership, it's the leader and the team members, right? And
Yeah.
you have to take that on. You can't just say it's all them. That's
Right.
just not even accurate. And in
Yes.
any relationship, husband, wife, partner, whatever, business partner, friend to friend, whatever, there's accountability on both sides. It's like,
Yeah.
what did you to do? What was your contribution, right?
Right. Yeah.
What was your
Yeah.
contribution? So
Agreed.
I think that's an important thing. But Julie, I think we're saying the same thing. You cannot do that and take accountability if you're not self-aware,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And if you're not able to kind of put the ego down and not
Oh, ego's a huge career killer. Holy cow.
yeah. Yeah. All right. So I have a list of questions that I like to ask that we'll start to wrap up with. And
Okay.
I call it lessons learned.
Okay.
And these are takeaways. So if you think about your journey and experience becoming a leader,
Mm-hmm.
what, if anything, would you point to as a mistake or something you would do differently?
I think early on, I was way too hard on people. I was the manager, so you do what I tell you to do.
Okay.
And that's probably the biggest is I learned a lot later in my career that if we did things together, we would be a lot more successful together rather than do what I tell you to do because I'm the manager. That would be, the biggest.
I'm curious in something you said. Do you think there's a difference between a manager and a leader?
Oh, absolutely.
And what is that difference?
How what we think of the people
Okay.
that work for us.
Like their potential or their ability or how you
Yeah,
consider them? I see.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what is the best piece of advice that you received in your career that you think helped you be a better leader?
That you don't have to know all the answers from the beginning, or to say yes, or it's just you can't wait to have all the answers till you make a decision.
And you don't have to have all the answers, do you, as a leader? Do you
No.
agree?
Mm-mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why we have other people, right? And use their
Smarter
expertise.
people. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I agree. What is the worst piece of advice you ever received about being a leader?
If you smiled more, people would take you more seriously.
Didn't work, huh? You didn't
You
even
have such
try
a
it?
you have such a beautiful smile. You should use it more.
Interesting.
Bullshit like that. You never say that to a man.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
think
true.
I hear that a lot.
So we've touched on some of these, but if you could summarize, what is the number one piece of advice you'd give to someone who is stepping into their power as a leader?
It's exhausting, but it is so incredibly rewarding. I mean, we spend so much of our time at work. Don't make it fun, make it engaging, make it challenging. Right? People don't get up in the morning and they don't say I'm going to suck today.
Mm,
They get into work and their life gets sucked out of them. But challenge your folks, love your people. It's hard because they'll disappoint you, but love them and challenge them and let them see their own light. And you can make such a huge difference. You'll just see people blossom under you. Treat them as human beings and get to know them and love them, and they will deliver for you.
agreed. And I always like to end with this question. What I'm asking is for you to share your biggest life lesson. So can you complete this sentence? My biggest life lesson is.
Probably don't take yourself so seriously.
Mm,
And I think I've learned that more recently than not. I mean, if don't take yourself so seriously. It's not all serious. Have some fun. So,
yeah, agreed. And I
yeah.
think that's a common thing, right? That we also think we have to be serious. We have to show up as this. We can't play around. We can't joke. We can't make
Yeah.
fun of ourselves. We can't, all of those things that play in. And I would agree that that's something that I've learned along the way as well. But I would
You
agree. Don't take
even you, Maria,
this.
used to take
Yeah.
yourself too seriously. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we do. We take ourselves seriously so other people take us seriously, but if we're human, we can be a lot more
Yeah.
productive.
Yeah, I love your responses, and I wanted to follow up on something you said about, the reward and treating people like humans and caring about them and investing in them and all of those principles. I gave a talk once where I was talking to a room full of people who weren't necessarily leaders in the traditional sense,
Mhm.
and I was like, what is the most I had, I don't know, 15 minutes, and I was like, what is the most important thing to tell them? That they need to know. And when I really thought about it, it was four things. It was show up authentically, care about your people, show care and concern, invest in them, and believe in them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
That is
like
it.
really, when you
Yeah.
strip it all away, that's it.
Yeah.
And I also have had one of the best rewards. I think this is a quote. I'm quoted saying this somewhere. Um, the greatest reward I ever had as a leader is seeing someone grow beyond me and
Yes.
beyond what
Absolutely.
they thought was
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
That is the greatest gift, and in terms of leadership, that is the biggest contribution we can make. Not
Yeah.
hitting numbers. I mean, yeah, we got to do that, but not all of that crap. It's investing in people and allowing somebody to grow beyond what they even thought was possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've
Absolutely.
had those
Absolutely.
moments. I don't know if you've had one.
Oh
If
yeah,
you,
a bunch. It's really cool to see, like LinkedIn. Social media is a drag, but to see the people that were working for me in Brazil as consultants,
yes,
Odair is the vice president,
yeah,
Laurent is the director. It's like
yeah,
woohoo!
yeah.
Good job, guys. You
I
did it.
know,
You did
I
it.
know.
It really is. It's very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. That is the greatest reward for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, I am so happy to have had you here. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming on, and I will put your contact information in the show notes if people want to reach
Cool.
out to you. Julie is a great speaker, and she speaks on this. The everything that she talked about, she is the real deal. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Finding the Upside.
Thank you.